just yesterday, which was the 10th of November, Apple did their One More Thing event. There they released loads of new things, by that I just mean 3, which are really big in the Mac industry. In this video I go through all of those different items and I'll explain what the M1 is. Just below this video in the description there will be timestamps if you want to skip ahead to the next topic. Let's begin with the M1. What is the M1? Well, it's simply just their processor for their Macs. Originally, just before this, they've been using Intel chips in all of their Macs, whereas now they're moving over to their own Apple Silicon chips. These are already on iPhones, AirPods, watches, and even iPads, so now why not move to the Mac as well? Clearly, this was a great idea because of all the features it's giving. The good thing with this is that it gives higher performance with less power consumption. Due to advanced power management, this leads to longer and better battery life, making the latest Macs have a lot more battery life than previous Macs, while even having more performance. Well, if this is so great, how many cores does it have? Well, it's got an 8-core CPU, an 8-core GPU, and a 16-core neural engine. This new processor should allow up to 3.9 times faster video processing, as well as 7.1 times faster photo processing, which is super fast compared to their previous Macs, and the previous Macs were fast anyway, so this is just like a massive upgrade. It can do up to 11 trillion operations per second, which is the most they've ever done in a MacBook. So what do Apple say M1 does? Well, they say it dramatically improves performance and power efficiency. Video apps are snappier, games are richer and more detailed. Image processing is lightning fast and your entire system is more responsive. The MacBook Air is a very popular MacBook. In fact, it's the most popular MacBook out of all the MacBooks. And now having the M1 chip just makes it take this extra step further. This will allow it to have better performance with using even less battery life while still being the lightest MacBook. Thanks to the M1 chip on the MacBook Air, the CPU performance is now 3.5 times faster and the graphics performance is 5 times faster. This has dramatically improved from the previous MacBooks. It is now 3 times faster than the best-selling Windows laptops in its class. This Mac has 9 times faster machine learning than the previous Air. The MacBook Pro does not have any fans. This makes it completely silent, which is great as sometimes they can get really loud, and this just gets it completely silent with no moving parts. And thanks to that, this extends the battery life, and this can last 6 hours longer than the previous Mac, allowing it to have 18 hours of video playback. This is above and beyond the normal battery life of a Mac. And it's got the usual features of the MacBook Air so far, with Touch ID, a great display, and the Magic Keyboard. And it starts at £999. As well as the MacBook Air, they've also got the 2020 MacBook Pro. This is something that I've been looking forward to see how much better performance they can have. And I was actually quite surprised to say that I'm disappointed. The first thing that really annoyed me is that it's only up to 16 gigabytes of RAM and it starts at 8. So you can go from 8 to 16 and that's it. This is a MacBook Pro we're talking about, and the MacBook Air has the exact same amount of RAM. Up to 16, starting at 8. This is not even right. 8 gigabytes starting to 16. I mean, 8 gigabytes starting is okay, but they should at least go to 32 as it is a MacBook Pro. It's not a MacBook Air or a regular MacBook, it's a MacBook Pro. This deserves to have good RAM. If you think about it, it doesn't necessarily need that much RAM now that it has its own processor. This makes the CPU have 2.8 times better performance. It allows it to have 5 times better graphic speed, which is both good and it makes it a lot quicker, so will you even need the RAM? Also, thanks to the M1, it makes the SSD speeds up to 2 times faster, so accessing things from your storage won't take that long anymore. So, RAM, 8 gigabytes, it depends how much heavy load video editing or photoshopping you're doing, because on the average MacBook Pro user, I think you'd be okay. I'd personally be okay, but I know that there's those people who film in 8K, for example, and would like to edit their footage on MacBooks, and 16 gig is probably not enough for this. Just like the MacBook Air, it features an active cooling system, which means it has no fans, so it's completely silent. I know that the previous MacBook Pro can get really loud sometimes. The new camera does have an advanced camera ISP, which make your face look more clear, so that when you're doing FaceTime calls, or basically that's the only thing you do on a Mac when using the camera, it'll look clearer. For those Pro users, I'm sure you want to know what the ports are. Well, it's got 2 Thunderbolt ports, which support USB 4. They've now added studio quality mics, so you can record directly from the mic while still getting great audio. According to them, of course. We'll have to wait and see for that one. And the usual touch bar is there. And it's not the butterfly keyboard like the one from 2019. It's the same one as the refresh one they did in 2020 with the Magic Keyboard. And it does have an actual escape key rather than it being built into the touch bar. And the power button, if you're into that, is slightly moved separate to the touch bar. So there's a tiny gap with that, but I personally like that more. However, the old MacBook Pro from 2019 does not have that. This Mac has up to 20 hours of battery life. That is the most battery ever in a MacBook. This is absolutely crazy to think about it. With all these speeds, it still has a really, really low power consumption. This is just amazing for the MacBooks, and it shows the potential of what could be coming up in the few years. This starts at £1,299, and the education price is £1,199. And with the Intel processors, the price has now been pushed up, which is quite annoying. However, it's not like most people will be getting the Intel ones anymore. Most people will just be going for the M1 anyway because it's faster and less power consumption. Let's not forget about the Mac Mini, the small computer that is super, super fast. And now that it has the M1, it'll be even faster. This is great for Mac Mini. However, this only comes in one color, silver, and no space gray, which was a real disappointment to me. At least on the MacBook Air and Pro, we still got the space gray. Considering this is a computer, it starts at 256 gigabytes of storage, which is okay, and goes up to 2 terabytes of storage. However, this is also the MacBook Air and Pro, so you'd expect a computer to have more storage than the MacBooks, because they are laptops compared to a computer. This Mac Mini has built-in speakers, so you don't have to buy external speakers just to use it. And since it's a computer, I thought I might as well mention the I/O and what ports it has. So it's got an Ethernet cable, 2 Thunderbolt ports, which both support USB 4, an HDMI 2.0, and 2 USB-A ports, as well as a headphone jack. I'm sure you remember from WWDC a few months ago that BigSur was released. Well, only the beta version anyway, up until tomorrow. Tomorrow, the public version will be out, and it will not be a beta anymore. You can download this on any Mac that's new enough and supports it, and it should be amazing with all the new features it brings to macOS. I'll link a video in the description that gives a quick overview of what it is. So let's just go through everything really quickly. The M1, new processor that makes everything super, super fast with less power consumption, making better battery life and more performance. We've got the MacBook Pro, which is decent for what it is now, and now that it comes with more processing speed, it's going to be great and has the most battery ever in a MacBook. And then we've got the MacBook Air, still being as light as it is and having the same chip as a MacBook Pro as well as the same amount of RAM, just makes it super fast for a MacBook Air that's really, really light. And then now we've finally got a Mac Mini, which hasn't been out for quite a while now and has the great specs of the M1 while taking less power consumption, while also having the built-in speakers. And that's it for this year with Apple. So thanks for watching. If you enjoyed that video, please leave a like and subscribe.